Before we go any farther, I want to talk about the major scale pattern. Now, hopefully you're not like I was, because when I was taking piano lessons back in the day, my teacher tried to teach me scales, and she taught me scales, but I never excelled at scales. Um, and finally, I think she just put the little scale paper away and gave up. And I think the problem was is I didn't understand the importance of scales. I thought they were boring. And so today I want to talk about the major scale pattern and how that I've had to go in and fill in the gaps in my own education. And anyway, the major scale pattern is really helpful. And so anyway, let's get right to it. So the major scale pattern is made of whole steps and half steps. So we're going to use H to represent half steps and W to represent whole steps. But let's review those real quick. So when we go from one note to the very next closest possible note, that's a half step. So from C here to C sharp would be considered a half step. Also, take note, from E to F is a half step because we didn't skip anything. So if you skip a note, then that's a whole step. So from C to D would be a whole step. From E to F sharp would be a whole step because we skipped the F. So half steps is when you go from one note to the next closest note. They can go up or down. And a whole step is when you skip a note. Okay, so the major scale pattern is simply this. I'm going to write it here. So it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, I almost ran out of room. Okay, so let's look and see how that works. So let's start with this C here and just track it. So if from C we go up a whole step, well, remember we have to skip the black note, and there's the D. So there's our first whole step. So C, D. Okay. And now we go up another whole step. D to E. And now from E we go up to a half step. Well, there it is right there. And from there we go up a whole step. And from G we go up to a whole step. And now we go up another whole step. And then one more half step there. So the C major scale is every white note from C to C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And a major scale, they all sound the same. They all sound like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So you don't even have to know the pattern to figure out a major scale if you have a good ear. Da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's how a major scale sounds every single time. And it doesn't matter what note you start on, it's still a major scale. So let's do one. Let's start on E flat here. Okay, so we're going to use the same pattern. So to make the E flat major scale, we go from E flat. Now we go up a whole note, a whole step. So we go to F. Okay, so if we then from F we will go up another whole, and that's to G. And from G we go up a half step. Oh, look there. It's that middle black key. So A flat. And now from there we go up a whole step. Oh, look at that. It's the B flat here. And then from there we go up a whole step to the C. And then we go up another whole step to the D. And the half step lands us back on the E flat, as it should. Now, again, if you don't really understand how the major scale pattern works, then it's time to flesh it out on the keyboard. And if you have a good ear, this is going to be particularly helpful. So anyway, so whatever note you start on, that's the name of the major scale that you're making. So if you start on G flat, then you're making the G flat major scale. You're also making the F sharp major scale because they're enharmonic, but that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, start on any one of these notes you want to start on. That's the name of your major scale, and it should end an octave above, exactly from where you started. If it doesn't, you've done something wrong, and go back and redo it. So a good thing to do is figure out every single one. I know it doesn't matter what your fingering is on this. What matters is that you're following the pattern. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. It's that simple. This is important. And in another video, you will see why this is so important to understand the major scale pattern. So give it a little time. If you're not really good at it, work on it. Flesh it out on the piano and make sure they all sound like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, like that.